Hello everyone, this is Konkura speaking. Today is the 24th May 2026. As you probably know already, I have started to learn Japanese in January this year, on 6th January, in an evening school, all in preparation to hopefully go to university this year and start in the field of Japan studies. And well, I'm very busy with learning Japanese because we're also going very quick at our school. We just had 20 hours, 2 hours each Tuesday evening to learn hiragana and plenty of Japanese vocabulary and grammar, of course. And now we're already learning katakana and even more grammar and vocabulary and all kinds of stuff. What I wanted to show you is at first, I want to talk with you about writing hiragana and katakana and what kind of pen I personally love to use when it comes to writing them as beautiful as possible. I have given you three uh, examples with the same sentence. Tomoi gozen wa Nihon no Amazon desu, which means Tomoi Gozen is a Japanese Amazon. Tomoi Gozen was a female samurai who lived in the 12th century, if I'm not mistaken now. And she maybe has died in battle, but there are also more stories about her. You can Google her, Tomoi Gozen. Um, but what I want to show you here about this sentence is not that I believe that Tomoe Gozen was a Japanese Amazon. It's not that. As you can see, where's my finger? This I have been writing. The first sentence I have written with a standard ballpoint pen. This one I better take my right hand. I'm right-handed off. So this has been written by a standard ballpoint pen, and this is one of those pens or the same kind of pen that I'm using when I am in class because I have to write quite quickly because, of course, our teacher continues to talk and I have to write as much as possible down. But personally, I do not believe that writing with a standard ballpoint pen like this one is actually that beautiful. My personal favorite is actually a fountain pen. This is a standard fountain pen that I have just bought in the supermarket some time ago. It's nothing special. And as you can see, I can write quite beautiful hiragana, and also I'm using this ballpoint pen generally also to write katakana. As you can see, I have tried to remember all of the hiragana and katakana and writing them together. That was just yesterday, and yeah, I was lucky that I did it. I just made a small mistake with mo because I didn't realize that that the first line actually goes above the horizontal line because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. That was my only mistake so far. So yeah, I'm still slow though, so I need to think a lot. Sometimes I forget some of the hiragana or katakana because right now I'm mixing things up in my head. And I have been told that in Japan, normally when the students start, in first grade, they only learn hiragana for 6 months every day. That's what I've heard so far. I don't know if it's true, but if that's true, they have 6 months and have every day class in hiragana before they actually start with katakana. And we adults, we just had 20 hours, 2 hours each every Tuesday for hiragana, and now we already have to learn katakana. So yeah, that is why I have to do a lot at home to to learn it all, and that is why. As an author, I sometimes do not have always the time to write on my usual stuff, my Amazon epics and stuff like that. Anyway, so I believe that writing with a ballpoint pen is very beautiful. Just 3 days ago, I have also finally bought myself another pen. Sorry, this way. This is a Fineliner, and this is actually, Can you see that? It's made in Japan by Pentel Co. Limited, or Pentel Co. Limited. And those ones are, as I have been told, the standard. This is 0.5, the size of the pen, 0.5. And I like to write with this one. Actually, I have heard that the Japanese like to write with those kinds of pens. When it comes to hiragana, katakana, and I guess also kanji, our Japanese teacher, who obviously is a Japanese herself, a Japanese citizen, she has given us a few YouTube videos, or has shown us those YouTube videos of a Japanese man who uses, a pen similar to this one to write hiragana and katakana, so you can learn how to write and read them. And I have my standard Japanese class until late June, 23rd June, I think it was. And in June, I also have, on 3 Saturdays in a row, I have 3 hours each, so 9 hours. I have a hiragana and katakana class extra that I have booked. This one is about reading hiragana and katakana, but I'm sure that we're also writing, so that is why I have bought myself this pen in a store for writing materials. I have been walking through the city just to find a nice little store that is not part of any company chain. And yeah, my personal opinion is, use, either a fountain pen or also a Fineliner, Um, and for my fountain pens, before I forget it, I just use standard cartridges, standard ink cartridges, universal ink cartridges. So it's nothing special. It's no rocket science. Um, so because I just bought this one in a supermarket, same with the cartridges, and and they both work very well when writing hiragana and katakana. And the problem is with a standard ballpoint pen, and this is just my opinion. I do not say that you have to do this, but according to my opinion, when it comes to a ballpoint pen, it doesn't feel so good to write the hiragana and katakana. Maybe with katakana it's okay, but as you can see, I think my hiragana and katakana, when I write them with a mere standard ballpoint pen, they are not as beautiful as my hiragana and katakana when I use either my ballpoint, sorry, not my ballpoint, my pen, my fountain pen, or my fineliner. And that is why I personally advise you to use, again, either a fountain pen, a standard fountain pen, nothing special about it, or a fineliner. The interesting thing is, I live in Berlin, Germany, and this fineliner is actually cheaper than this ballpoint pen. This ballpoint pen did cost me, I don't know, it was 12 euros something or so, and this ballpoint pen was only, well, what was it? I think it was just 2 or 3 euros or something. It wasn't expensive, and of course you can also buy the mines, and you can refill it with a fresh mine. So you do not have to buy a new one again and again, which is also very good. And yeah, I think, I really love hiragana. It's okay for me to write katakana, but, personally, I'm a fan of hiragana because of numerous reasons. For example, for the fact that they were especially used by Japanese women, and I'm, if you know my other videos, you can tell that despite being a man, I'm quite a matriarch, and that is why I love the hiragana so much, because they are said to be, the writing system of the Japanese females, because the Japanese women of the time, many centuries ago, were actually really using hiragana a lot. I do not know if they really invented them, but then later Japanese monks have invented the katakana for usage in when writing foreign words. So yeah, this is all that I just wanted to tell you, because when you write hiragana, they are very round. They do not have those edges, and for this, the feeling of using either a fountain pen or a fine liner is so much better than a standard ballpoint pen, because the ballpoint pen is, I would say, scratchy. I mean, it feels like as if you scratch along the paper when you write hiragana and katakana. So I personally suggest that you use a fountain pen or a fine liner. Fine liner is 0.5, and the fountain pen is just, again, it's just a standard fountain pen as you know it from school. Okay, this is nothing special. So yeah, and you can find it in any supermarket or store for writing materials, obviously just like a fine liner. And a last tip before I'm closing this video is, it's of course important that you write words and sentences to get font with hiragana and katakana. Please do it every day, because I have realized that if I don't have a time for a few days to write, I already tend to forget hiragana and katakana. Of course, it's just May, 24th May is today, 24th May 2026. And I have just started a little more than 5 months ago to learn Japanese, okay? And we're loaded with plenty of stuff at school. So, but you can quickly forget if you do not continue to write every day. Some of my fellow classmates even have a little problem to write by hand because they're not used to it anymore, because they are mostly just write with a computer. And I tell you that writing hiragana and katakana by hand is not only vital to learn them, because you have a certain organization when it comes to that. How you write them is set. For example, when you have I take the final one, Sue. Um, Wait a minute, I have to just with the camera it's maybe a bit problematic. You first write this line, and then you write this. Yeah, it's ugly now because I'm holding the camera at the same time and I'm talking too, so I cannot concentrate. So you can see how important it is to concentrate and to have a good pen. But what you can also train when you learn hiragana and katakana is try to construct your own chart by writing them all, A, I, O, E, U, and under those you also write them in katakana. First you write hiragana and then katakana, and then you continue with all the possible uh, hiragana and katakana, even the ones that you maybe rarely use, like wo, the one in the center, this one. We rarely use them, and I know my wo in hiragana is well, not really as it should be, like, but it's very important. My Japanese teacher, yes, I know I'm talking too much again, but there's so much that I want to tell you. My Japanese teacher in last class, she wrote he, or he. He is called, the Chinese say he. Um, she wrote it to the chalkboard. It's an electronic board actually, and she didn't write it down like this, but it was a bit. Um, she wrote it more like this. Yeah, like this she wrote it. And I've asked her, what is this, because I couldn't read it, because it's already it's not looking like it should be, and I already had trouble to figure out what is this. And then she told me, oh yeah, it's hey, because she also when she writes on such a board, you can see that even a natural Japanese citizen and a teacher, has problems to write hiragana and katakana quite beautiful if she is not using a good pen, and if she is relying on an electronic board instead of using pen and paper. So yeah, I'm talking too much. This is all that I wanted to tell you for today about learning Japanese. So yeah, just that you know, I continue learning Japanese. You know, I haven't given up yet. There were days where I wanted to give up, where I said, "Oh, the other students, they are so good, and I need so much time to finally learn some stuff." But sometimes I can get really depressed, you know, when the others seem to get everything right in class, while it takes me far more time, but it seems that I'm far more effective in learning at home than in a class where you know we're going quick and you know I have to do a lot at home, you know, and that is why I sometimes don't have time to write my Amazon stories and stuff that I publish on my website. Anyway, this is all I want to tell you for today. So again, for the end. Again, I advise you to not use a standard ballpoint pen, but either use a fountain pen or you use a Fineliner, and you know, especially the ones that are made in Japan. I don't care about the company. This is not an advertisement video. This is zero point 0.5 is the standard. I have also been told that this is the standard that you should use to write beautiful hiragana and katakana. And yeah, I think so. So yeah, you should better use, according to my own opinion, and this is just my opinion as always, use a fountain pen or a fine liner to write really beautiful hiragana and katakana. So I say goodbye to you now. Also goodbye from my two Maneki Neko style geisha that I have introduced to you just a few days ago in another video. Right now it's still in the early morning, so they are not moving yet. There is not enough light. Normally they move their heads, as you can see, like this they would do. Okay, thank you so much. Goodbye and see you next time.